Welcome back. Now, what started as a marathon is about to end as a sprint. With less than a month to the end of the year, members of the National Assembly may next week pass Nigeria's 2020 budget, a budget that is expected to finance up to 2 trillion naira of capital expenditure. Now, if the National Assembly passes the budget next week, the president could either assent or withhold his signature. What are the consequences of the delay, and is it likely that the president will approve the budget before the end of 2019? To discuss this with me tonight is Mr. Babajide Ogunsowo, Channels Television's data and information consultant. Glad to have you again.
Pleasure is always mine to be here, Millicent.
All right, so it's almost 2 months. Lots of excitement when the president presented the 2020 budget to members, a joint session of members of the National Assembly. But is there any research that measures the consequences of delay in passing the budget?
There is, but a lot of Nigerians still don't understand the 10 trillion naira budget. So tonight we'll explain if the government, for instance, had only 3 naira to spend. 1, 2, 3. How will the government spend this? And I'll explain that to you tonight. But talking about consequences, I'd like to quickly talk about 3 myths about the delay of the budget. The first myth is there are consequences to the delay. That is a myth. What do I mean? In the Constitution, Section 81, subsection 1, it allows the president to present the budget any time during the financial year. So because there are no consequences, the president can present the budget anytime. And that was one of the challenges we face today. The second challenge is some people believe that because there's a delay in the government spending money, which is the budget, then families like you and I will not spend so much money. But the evidence shows that the correlation between government spending and private household expenditure is just 38%. The third myth as well, which shows that there isn't so much strong correlation between the decisions families make on their spending and the decisions that government makes. And finally, the third myth, which is government's delay in spending will also affect how much businesses invest in the country. And by business investments, we're looking at what is called gross fixed capital formation. And the evidence as well shows, Millicent, that there's very weak correlation between government expenditure and the spending on new investment by businesses. So in summary, the question is, what is most impacted by the delay? And the evidence we have today shows that it is capital importation. Capital importation has a 60% correlation between, there's a 60% correlation between government spending and how much capital comes into Nigeria. So the conclusion is capital importation affects our external reserves, and our external reserves affects the stability of the naira. So in summary, the delay in budget passage has some effect on the stability of the naira.
So let's look at a situation where if the budget is passed this year, is there any clause that guarantees the MDAs and the agencies having funds?
You know, budget approval is not the same thing as money being disbursed to the MDs. So let's look at, is the government willing to spend money? Let's look at what has happened to revenue and expenditure in the last 5 years. And if we take a look at that, we'll find out that the government has the willingness to spend more. In the last 5 years, expenditure by the federal government has been growing. And that is what we've seen. As at 2018, the government spent over 7 trillion naira in the economy. The concern isn't expenditure, which we can see that expenditure has been growing consistently. The challenge is what is in front of you. Government revenue has been inconsistent. There's been a 4-year consistent decline of revenue, and only last year were we able to earn as much as 3.9 trillion naira. So the summary is the government is willing to spend, however, there isn't as much money being generated. And you know what a wise man once said? If you do not take your money seriously, you will never make serious money. Remember, I also told you, right now, a lot of Nigerians don't understand the 10 trillion naira. So assuming the budget were just 3 naira, what is the government doing? 1 naira is spent on paying salaries. Another naira is spent on servicing debts. And all we have left is 1 naira for everything else. That is the challenge. We need to start taking our money seriously by making serious money.
In terms of higher impact on the economy, is it spending recurrent or spending on new projects?
Let's talk about the highest impact, not just which one has the higher impact. Yes, a lot of money has been allocated to recurring. So looking at impact, because more money is on recurring, there'll be more multiplier effects. But which one has the highest impact? And it is families like you and I, because the evidence as well that is available shows that the size of the economy is made by 60% of family spending, private sector spending. So in other words, if we want to grow the economy, we need to get the Millicents and our friends and me to spend more money. And how do you get Nigerians to spend more money? You need to make sure Nigerians earn more money. And that is the secret. To spend, to increase, to make sure more Nigerians spend more money, because that is 60% of the size of the economy. And for Nigerians to spend more money, they need to earn more money. And in the final analysis, let's not forget, as a nation or as individuals, if you do not take your money seriously, you will never make serious money. So we need to make serious money by taking our revenues more seriously.
So coins. We'd like to thank you, Babajide Ogunsanwo. Thank you for joining us.
The pleasure is all mine.